Okay, so what today is, and thanks very much to Texila American University who've asked me to speak. I'm not a teacher. I'm a life coach and a business coach, and I spent 22 years in the medical device industry. But what I'm wanting to share with you is the context of the situation that you're in. So the topic really is upgrading teaching skills needed for remote learning, and you'll see where we're going to go with that. So what has happened to us is that this little virus, which looks very pretty on this picture, has come along to us and has really turned us upside down. It's really holding the whole world hostage. And what's happening is that not only do you have some trauma in the world, you now have that traumatic energy all over the world because it's all of us being held hostage. And as a result, we have this total chaos. This is probably a picture on a good day. What you're finding though is that as teachers, what would have happened is that your worlds have been turned up even more upside down because of the fact that school has closed. And often people have said that schools are closed, therefore there's no education happening, there's no teaching happening, and those teachers are not working, whereas there couldn't be anything further from the truth than that. So what I'm wanting you to do at this moment is to just take a moment to thank yourselves, to see what it is that you have been doing. And we appreciate you. We know that you've been doing a great job. So if you are listening and your microphone is not muted, please will you mute it? Thank you. So yes, guys, it's not easy. And girls,
Colleen, your mute thing is on, so we can't hear you.
Options. So what is the status of those? What is it completed?
Texila, you've muted me.
No, we are able to hear you, Ms. Paula.
I think it is.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I think I'm not able to locate that particular form. So I'm sending a task to the corporate office to hold on. I'll send all together. I think something.
Okay. All right, so guys, this is actually what happens. Because this is something that we are not necessarily experts at from a point of view. So let me share with you, this is experiential learning. You don't get to learn unless you have the experience of it. So you could sit with a textbook on how to do a talk. And what happens is that, step 1, step 2, step 3. And unfortunately, in the real world, it doesn't always go like that. And the whole point of it is to go with the flow, say, hey guys, come on, what's happening here? Where are we? Whatever. And then just go from there. Okay. So where we were actually thanking you for the job that you've been doing, and to know that we appreciate that you are still teaching, you are still educating, you're still living your purpose the best that you can. So thank you for that. All right. So now the temptation is often to just copy paste. So we would really like to copy the situation in your classroom, to know that you have got your group of learners, you've decorated your classroom, it's exactly set up for you as a maths teacher, biology teacher, or whatever kind of teacher, and that we would just then paste it into the remote setting, into digital world. But of course we know that that can't work. And so even if we took our situation where you had, say for instance on Thursday you were teaching in a classroom, and on Friday you stopped teaching in the classroom and you were now going to teach students at home, or they were going to go on and learn virtually. Unfortunately, the whole world changed overnight, because ultimately COVID came along, we were put down into lockdown, and so it's not the same children, it's not the same situation, it's not the same context. And that is why everything has changed. And it's not possible to just copy paste. What we've also got to understand is that there's a very big difference between online learning versus online teaching. And I know from speaking to teachers and parents that a lot of schools started with online learning, and then along came a lot of parents and said, no, we don't want that. We want the whole situation where we have online teaching, in that if my children went to school from 7:30 till 2, they must now do that and have online teaching. Okay, so what I want us to look at today. Texila, please mute microphones, thank you. All right, so what I want us to look at today is that when you have this picture, when you're standing on the one side, you see a 6. And when you're standing on the other side, you see a 9. It is totally contextual of where it is that you're standing and the story that you're seeing. So ultimately, the guy on this side, he's seeing his truth as being a 6. And the person on this side is seeing his truth as being a 9. Okay, so what I'm wanting us to do today is to look at things from other people's sides. But what we need to understand that in our situation, it's not only parents and teachers. There's multi-sided, so multifaceted. So you would have the school, you would have the government, you've got teachers, you've got parents. And unfortunately, in all of this, you also have the student. And often the student is forgotten about in our frantic running around as adults trying to work out what to do. So let's start with parents. Don't you love this picture? This is really that parents are seeing that time is running out. Can't you see that 2020 is ticking past? It's actually leaving us and we're going to be left behind. That is probably one of the feelings across the board of parents, in that time is running out. And as time is running out, their child is going to be left behind. So there they are, this little boy is at the bottom of the stairs and the people are sprinting out their ship and leaving him behind. And what does that mean for their child? Something else, this picture over here of mom in this case sitting at home and chatting to people, teaching her little girls, homeschooling. We all know that this picture comes from Disney. This is not truth. There are very, very few parents who can sit in this home situation and quite happily and very peacefully and very fairy tale-ish teach children. Okay. So this is something where we're also seeing that parents have a very big fear that they can't teach. They also know that they can't teach their children. And so is it any wonder then that when you have, we're running out of time, my child will be left behind, and I do not know how to teach. Then let's look at what else a parent is going through. Because we have all been put into house arrest, every single one of us, basically a lot of homes are in chaos, where now suddenly everyone's at home. When you think of it, every morning, parents, whether you have got 2 moms, a mom and a dad, or 2 dads in homes, and or single parent families, they have had a process where every single morning the children went to school and the parents have gone to work. And now suddenly, instead of anyone hopping out and going off somewhere, they have now all had to stay at home. So there is major chaos in lots of homes. Often what also happens for children is that there's no necessarily access to a laptop, a tablet, or a cell. And certainly not necessarily one for each child. Because remember, further down here, you'll see that many homes have got many children and not only one. The big thing also is that parents, instead of hopping in their car and going off to work in an office, they now have to sit at home, and that parent has to work out how to do their online meetings. What's this Zoom thing? Where's GoToMeeting? Where do I click? What do I do? Skype, how does it work? Okay. And with that comes a lot of issues as well with internet, where there is issues with data. Broadband is not always a possibility, especially when dad is on a meeting, the child's on a meeting, and mommy's also on a meeting, that not all homes have enough bandwidth to be able to have connectivity for everybody. And also what happens is, depending on where you are, you also have the reliability of your internet connection is not always possible. Okay. In your own class, you know that you had set up a space that was conducive for learning. Once you have now let go of your space, you now have that these people, your children, your students, have moved into a situation that you have got no control over. There may not be enough space in where these children are. There may not be a space for them to have their own little space. They may all be sitting around a dining room table, the whole family. So that I know in my family, I have an older daughter, and certainly my husband, myself, and my daughter are spread out across the house so that we don't interrupt or interfere with each other from a sound point of view. And we're still alive in week 4. So it's pretty good going. But that is not everybody's reality. A big thing also is that people are not necessarily tech and digital savvy. They don't know. It's something that often have been, oh, but why don't you? I look even in my mom, for instance, where I'd say to her, but mom, just look, and she, oh, no. Okay. What has happened now, because of her having to have no option, believe you me, she's now going to church online on Sundays on her cell phone. And she's quite proud of herself. But we have been forced into a situation where we've had to, and that's the difference. Okay, I mentioned before that there are many children in lots of homes, and that can also just add to the chaos. What is also added to parent stress is that the communication channel between school and the parent, and school and the child, or between the parent and the child, is not necessarily A, present, or B, optimal. Communication channels don't always work. And what I'm seeing in my research is that a lot of government schools have not contacted parents or children at all. And a lot of private schools have gone to the other extreme of catching up with information. But what you're also seeing is, because of all these things, all these fears and worries and concerns that parents are going through, is it then any wonder that they're saying, I pay school fees. I demand that you pay my child, you teach my child. I demand that. And when you're in the situation of thinking, oh, what unreasonable parents, what's wrong with them? It's because of all their fears and all their concerns that they are reacting in this way of, I don't want to teach my child. I pay school fees. You come teach my child. Okay. And the picture we saw with the little girl, what actually happens in that situation is that the children are suffering. Now let's look at the teacher side. So there has often been, and there is, in that teacher, to me, I believe teaching is a calling. You may disagree with me, but I believe that you are experiencing pressure to serve, in that you have to prove that you are a good teacher, that you are going to have children that aren't being left behind at the bottom of the stairs, like my picture before, that you are earning your salary. And then obviously as well, you know, we all have bills, we all have situations at home that we need to be concerned about and make provision for. And so what if the school stops paying me? Must be topmost of your mind. As I've said, you have absolutely no control of your children's learning environment. From your safe classroom where you could see everybody, now suddenly they're all gone. Okay? Your home may also be in chaos, because you know what? You've also had to go home. Your family is also not heading out the door every day and, oh, we'll see you later, mom, or we'll see you later, dad. And so it's not only the people who, the children and their homes that are affected, your home may also be affected. As a teacher, just because you are a teacher does not mean that you are tech savvy. It does not mean that you may necessarily think that you have enough skills that are needed. What we often are tempted to do, though, is that we are in a certain mountain with a certain amount of skills. And as great teachers, you will have skills. You will have an amazing way of doing it. You will have a routine. And so the temptation as well, we were just on this little school mountain, and we'll just hop across, just there we go, into our home mountain. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, because the skills that we had in home are not necessarily, or the skills that we've had at school are not necessarily just transferable. Just hop across to the next mountain. And so we're putting big pressure on ourselves as teachers to, come on now, just do it. A big thing also, like for me, yes, I've worked on Zoom for a long time, but it is about where things like you think, oh, this is a different screen, what's going on there? And you don't feel comfortable enough to say, this looks different. Okay. So also a teacher is a parent. A lot of teachers are parents, and a lot of parents are teachers. There are issues probably in your home also with internet, in that you may not have data or data, depending on which part of the country you come from. Broadband can also be an issue. How reliable is everything? And you may be missing the infrastructure. Yes, maybe you do have a laptop or tablet, but maybe from 20 years ago. and it doesn't work at the level that it should. As I said, a lot of teachers are trying to copy and paste the old classroom into the new situation, which we know doesn't work. Unfortunately, in this situation, we are having to adapt to change. And what I'm seeing as a coach is that because we have gone through so much trauma, and we are in trauma, and we're in that change, and we're in chaos, that we are going through the stages of grief. Grief has got very much your denial, your anger, and your grief. And it's unfortunately, grief is not linear. Grief is not, oh, done that on Monday, done that on Tuesday, I'm done, okay? And so you can be perfectly fine on Wednesday morning and perfectly falling apart on Wednesday afternoon. And that is normal. It is absolutely normal for the fact that we are in the trauma that we're in. Please also remember that because the whole world is in this trauma, that what you're feeling is also magnified. So it's not only you feeling the emotions, it's all the people around you. It's your community, it's your town, it's your city. And so that's why it is often possible to feel like you've totally lost the plot, because I've seen, like, some people said that they would read a newspaper article or hear the news and burst into tears and cry for 2 days because of something that they had read. And they're saying, but you know, they wouldn't normally have been like that. And so just to be rest assured that that is normal. But of course, we're all working in that situation now. Okay. So what I'm wanting to do here is to stop my screen, stop my share. Okay. And let's hear from you, because you are the experts in this. And what I'm wanting you to see is that, yes, the person in the little block next to you may be classed as competition. Okay, they may be from, oh, look who's here, from which school, okay? You might also look in the little block next to you and say, oh, but that's a science teacher, or that's a maths teacher, or that's a whatever teacher. But ultimately, you're all here as teachers, and you're all able to contribute. Okay, so let's hear, how are you feeling? How are you feeling as teachers? Let's hear in the chat room. Do you want to type or do you want to talk? Let's see. Okay, let's type. All right, so in the chat room, oh, Debbie has raised her hand. Debbie, would you like to talk?
Yes, am I unmuted?
You are unmuted, Debbie. Hello, welcome.
Okay, good. You know, I just think that it serves a certain sector of our society. And, you know, I hate to say it, but you have the haves and you have the have-nots, and especially in the South African context. The reality is the masses will not have exposure to this and will not have the means of the use of technology in the classroom, unfortunately. And those that do have it will accelerate to the next fad that comes out, the next trend, like with Zoom and with, you know, My Classroom, etc. So, you know, it will continue to progress. But unfortunately, if we look at the South African or the African context, it's not a very widespread thing with technology in the classroom. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you for that, Debbie. Yes, ultimately, and because private schools have reacted the way they have, in that private schools have leaped ahead, and here we've got teaching, we've got online, we've got all sorts of things, but there is huge infrastructure, there is bandwidth in homes. So yes, the gap is going to get bigger. Reading here, as teachers, should we start fearing losing our jobs to technology? Okay, so that is a very real fear. At the end of this, will somebody say, oh, there's no point to teachers, we don't need schools, we can just carry on living at home? And the next question, or the next answer here, where Ryan said a computer will never be able to provide the emotion that comes with teaching. As we've gone into a fourth industrial revolution, as we've gone into automation, it's very much about that people go, oh, can't do that, as opposed to embracing it. How can we make our teaching better? How can we differentiate ourselves from the next person and embrace it and make it more? Okay. All right. Ashley says, I feel concerned that some of my learners aren't getting the work done due to their economic status. Yes, that is a very, very real a very, very real issue. I'm finding it extremely difficult. I teach a practical-based subject, and I'm finding it very hard to teach online. Not being able to have the input into my kids' learning as I need to. I'm also struggling because I know some of my kids have huge emotional barriers. Absolutely, Joanne. And even more so because they have emotional barriers even without COVID. So there were issues and there were challenges in everybody, even without the world changing overnight. And that is something that we need to take into account. And so my talk today is very much about context, that we can't just copy paste just your classroom. And we also have got to take into the context of where everybody is in this situation. Yes. All right. Something else a high school teacher shared with me while I was doing research for my talk is saying that his one learner or teacher, no, student, has got both his parents in the healthcare industry, in the healthcare frontline. And so this child is stressed every single day because what's going to happen to his parents? Are they getting sick? Are they going to die? And where does maths, English, geography fit into that when you are feeling that fear? Okay. It's a good thing I read this and don't have to put my glasses on. I'm teaching 3/4 of learners who come from very rural setup. I'm a teacher of science and biology. I'm so glad you call it science and biology and not that other funny terminology that they use now. Okay, so thank you for that one. Yes. Let's just see here. All right, so how do you think parents are feeling? Let's see how fast you guys can type. Okay, when I call you you guys, I don't mean it in any gender discriminatory. Guys to me are girls and guys. Let's hear from you, Shanta.
Hi, Colleen. Colleen, good to see you. I've got 3 points, right?
Yes.
And the first one is about my colleagues, my ex-colleagues who are teaching in a virtually paperless environment. They are complaining that they are far more pressurized now by the hierarchy than they've ever been before. And yet I come from that environment and I know that we were 24/7 there with, this is, you know, a young adult students, right? And they're really, really under a lot of pressure. And so many are saying to me, they're looking forward to going back to the organization. The second thing that I need to bring up is Professor Jansen. I was quite upset with his suggestion about progressing everybody to the next grade. I didn't read any more that he had to say. I was really saddened by an academic of that level making such a statement, right? Because what are we doing? We're setting up this future disaster, in my opinion. Thirdly, I've worked in a virtually paperless environment where I was more online than offline with my students. Technology will never replace teachers. So that needs to be something that teachers need to absorb. They're such a valuable part, and they'll never ever be replaced.
Yes.
So that's all I have to add.
Thank you for that very much. Thank you. Yes. So ultimately, it's not a solution just to promote everybody. Okay, just shut your eyes, pretend 2020 is gone and done, and we'll just make it 2021. And you're now in the different grade, different whatever. It's not going to work. I've also seen other suggestions that we just calm down, and so what if your children miss out on a bit here and there, whatever, they're not going to be negatively affected. But, you know, we've also seen that whole thing about we're all in the same boat. Ultimately, we're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm. But how you're going to cope with the storm and if you're going to survive the storm depends on resources, depends on your support system. So in terms of reaching more children, would it be an option in South Africa, for instance, and in other countries to say we should have teaching on TV, on national TV? I'm sure you've all seen the meme of the 2 little ones going to school, and it's all very well, yes, online learning, but what about us? So that is an issue, yes. I'm concerned that many learners don't understand.
They do already have online.
Sorry, Joanne?
they are doing teaching on various television channels. The fact is, though, that in a lot of our rural areas, there is no TV.
Yes.
There's not even electricity in many of those areas.
And so what also happens is that the have-nots become even more have-nots. Okay. So I'm concerned that many learners don't understand the work and are too shy to ask for help. Yes, a big thing, I don't know if you can see all your screens here. You can see that some people have got switched on video and other people haven't. You can see a name. Sometimes, like Tracy has got a pretty picture. Ashley has got an M. All right. But the problem with this is you don't get feedback. So when I coach or I sit with people or I lecture medical, okay, I can look instantly, I can feel it. I can feel the energy of flip, that group over there is not following me, or Johnny is lost, or CPO is whatever. In this kind of environment, you don't get immediate feedback. I can't sit in a room and feel the energy. I cannot feel the energy except from the people who are actually, I can see. And even then, it's a very different level of feeling energy. It's something that you've got to practice and be pretty good at. So you don't get that immediate feedback. You have no clue. And I mean, I know I've lectured anatomy, like the digestive system. And 5 hours later, you're thinking, gee, was anyone even there? Did they follow you? Did they? And so for me, it's almost like you need to have sound on. I need to hear you breathing. I have to check in with you. Do you get it? Don't you get it? What? And it's a very different way of teaching. Because it's pointless getting to the end of 5 hours and then you go like, oh, okay, well, we left Tracy and Jess way behind over there, but never mind, I did my bit. So it's a different, very different way of communicating, and it's a different way. You wouldn't know how to do this, and you only know what's going to work if you try it. Okay. Their children will fail the national exams. I teach art and drama, and just to get the practical work specifically to seniors, the emotions are all unstable, and many of the parents are unable to help the kids with this, as they never did these subjects at school. Most parents are too stressed and busy with their own work and family and financial concerns to be able to take the adequate time to teach their children. Absolutely. I know Jess, for instance, over there, she has mentored and tutored into Alex, and there were issues even without COVID, where you do not, I mean, Jess's research, sorry, Jess, I'm using you here. Jess's research is in the role of the parent in grade 9 maths marks, in that you need present parents. Okay, so parents are scared. If you don't know what 4 times 3 is, you're not going to sit with homework of 4 times 3. You're going to go away from it. And now suddenly, phew, you must, you know, that woman we just saw sitting there with her 2 children, yes, the Disney picture. Now you must sit there and, bond with your children and teach them. So no, it does not work like that. Okay, are there any other comments from anybody else at this point? Do I see any hands being put up? Do I see any microphones being switched on? Ashley's smiling at me. Yay, I can feel your energy, Ashley. Yes, there you are. Okay, Jess is smiling at me. Joanne's laughing uproariously. Okay, so there, a big thing is sound. That when you don't hear sound, you are cut off. One of your actual senses is totally cut off. So I heard Joanne, well, I saw Joanne laughing, but I can't hear her. Okay, so I don't know, do we get different levels of laughing and hysterical laughter, or, oh, wow, this wacko woman laughter, you know? I don't know. But so a big thing is to not be hard on yourself and say that you are not an expert at this. You cannot be an expert at it. We've only done it a few weeks. Okay, so parents are scared of their children's future. They feel exposed and real underprivileged. Yes, absolutely. So what I want to do now, okay, here's some more comments. I do miss the interaction from my kids, like you've been saying. It makes such a difference. You know, I work with students, with older people, okay. I also work with corporate. But there is nothing like being able to walk in and see somebody who's upset or not upset. And in my environment and with me, I would hug you, okay? And so I've always said that online, yes, is something that you can get used to. The child can come up and say, oh, look here, Miss So-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I brought you an apple. Do they still bring you apples, guys? Anyway, but no, Ashley says, no, you don't get apples anymore. All right. And so we're missing a whole bunch of stuff. And what I'm just asking you today is to not be hard on yourself that it's not working or it's not working optimally, or that you didn't just go from your classroom mountain and just hop across and jump. Now we're on the home mountain. Okay. You have to actually descend into the depths to go and learn new skills, new ways, new things. And yes, it's fast forward. We are fast forward here now in terms of what works and what doesn't work. But what I'm asking you is to say, let's work together. Let's collaborate. Let's not look at another teacher. I work often with coaches, okay? So in a coach setting, coaches walk into an environment or walk into a room and go, oh, she's here, okay? Because they see competition. Now is the time to not see other teachers as competition. Now is not the time to see that a science teacher is worth more than a whatever teacher. Or we have got different techniques, different strengths, different ways of coming together. And it is so much better that we collaborate and put those ideas together, because in the room are the solutions. But we have to be willing to speak to each other. And maybe the solution is in a different country. Maybe the solution is in the school down the road. Maybe the solution isn't a private school, a government school, but there are solutions. As long as we are willing and vulnerable enough to say, hey, what do you think? Okay, somebody did get a bottle of champagne. Yes, I got a bottle of champagne once. Awesome. Okay, I find my best practical lessons come from the input from my kids. Yes, having them online is not the same. We need that emotional connection. I personally am finding this distance learning extremely difficult. Joanne, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. And you are not crazy. It is difficult. Oh, you people are typing faster than I'm reading. I'm missing my classes. I agree the feedback from pupils or non-feedback from pupils is a concern, as they are coping with the work being given. Are they coping? Scaffolding in multiple learning cycles spontaneously would be neglected. The human element is crucial to the teaching and learning journey. So how can we be more human on this kind of thing? Do you see that when I talk to you, I have to be more energy than I normally am, okay? I am lots of energy normally, but I've got to actually be more energy. I can't just think, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have history. Because you go, oh, my hat, she's as boring as hell, and off you go, all right? So it takes more energy from us to fill a space. You have to use you've got to put hands in. You've got to move and be not too much over the top, I hope, but it takes energy. Okay, in terms of shyness, I used to personally find it easier to ask questions online than face-to-face. So while some students may find it more difficult to ask questions, maybe others will find it easier. Yes, absolutely, says Jess. Okay, so let's go back to share my screen. Let's find the correct. Okay, so what do we know about remote teaching and learning? Basically, it's not the same as a classroom. And even if it was the same as a classroom, we're now in totally different context. Our lives have gone from pre-COVID to in COVID. And even our lives after COVID are also going to be different. It's very important in your teaching and your learning and your studying that you make it an adventure and fun. But it must be an adventure and fun for you as well. And often it's not, you know, sometimes teachers are very, here's the work, linear, and we need to do it. Include the children in it. As that's the point of, you're not alone in this. You have an entire class to help you. Sometimes you may not be seeing the class. I know that one 4-year-old gets two calls from his teacher every week, and just one-on-one, okay? So also very different. Yeah, very strange. But as much as this, when I do this kind of thing, I'm not alone in this. I'm working with all of you. And if I can't find a button, well, guess what? I'm going to ask the audience. Okay, I'm going to phone a friend. And so see it is that it's almost like a game we're playing in how we're going to adapt, how we're going to do it. Ask the friend, ask the audience. And a lot of it, your children may have different digital skills and different abilities than you have. And so now's the time also to say, okay, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? I know my niece's class, she lives in a small town in South Africa, and they have only got 35 children in the grade, and 25 of them are like A students. And when the teacher came along and said, okay, here are your lessons, here this is, the class said, no, we're not going to do it that way. And for me, if I was the teacher, I'd say, oh, fine, you design the syllabus and we'll do it, you know, involve them. But they just decided they wouldn't have lectures at all. Okay, so online presentation takes way more energy and presence. You can be exhausted at the end of the day. As we said, you don't get immediate feedback. I cannot hear you. I work from a coaching perspective in that I listen to breathing. When I cannot hear you, I cannot hear your breathing, okay? You cannot be an expert on day one or in week one. It takes time and repetition. And that's a big thing of this is experiential learning. As teachers, we have, oh, we must go through the experience, we must see it. But experiential learning is, did it work? Oh, that didn't work. How could we make it more optimal? What can we do? And now here we have a situation where I'm going to get up and I'm going to open the door for this crying Jack Russell. See, you would never do that in a corporate setting, but this is the reality of the world. Okay, death by PowerPoint is not a great idea, and pictures are better. There's nothing worse than when somebody puts up a whole bunch of tiniest little writing and then proceeds to read all of it. There's nothing worse than that. So there may be different ways. I know, for instance, like you get different apps like Slido, SLI.do, is a way of asking questions, but it also means that you've got more data, more things involved, and you're also asking them to go onto a different website almost. So you've got to be careful with that. Okay, you have to allow for concentration spans and distractions. You know that in your class, they probably heard a little bit of you, but because they're sitting in front of you, they have no option but to pretend. Yes, listening to you, okay, and they may just be able to look out of a window. But when you think of it here in this situation, because I cannot see you, I can only see Joanne, okay? You may not even be there. You may have gone to make tea, for all I know, okay? I see Joanne's there and she's even nodding, right? Which makes you wonder what kind of screen I'm seeing, but anyway. So that whole thing of your concentration span. So instead of having like a whole hour lesson or 2 hour lessons or 6 hour lessons or however, it cannot work that way. So it's more like little pieces, blah, 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 and then interaction, play games, have different things. Because it can't just be with one person going, blah, 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 blah. Because also what happens is while you are sitting there, you go, oh, and now we go on the cell phone, or we go on something else, or we play cars, okay? Maybe for all you know, your children are playing Scrabble while you are talking to them. All right. Another complaint that I've seen a lot is because there's so much pressure on everybody to make this work, to have children not be left behind, to have the gap not getting bigger. All these teachers are now coming along with so much work. And it's about understanding that you are not that child's only teacher. There are lots of teachers, you know, sometimes 10 teachers in this child's life, okay? And when everybody piles on the work, it becomes an impossibility, and it just is massively adding to the stress. So I don't know what the solution is. Maybe you could tell me there, but is it about the teachers in a school getting together and saying, okay, how much work are we giving? Are we giving a realistic amount? I mean, I know school's hell anyway, but are we giving a realistic amount of work given that it's not the same as the classroom? Okay, we've already spoken about collaborating with colleagues, and also not only, no, don't only work with teaching colleagues, work with other colleagues who work online. Ask online people, hey, how do you do it? Because in a corporate setting, every single workspace has now had to work out how to work online, okay? And so ask other people, because everyone is having to do online meetings. And then it's also about seeing, and that's what I was wanting to show you today, is that the different perspectives of where you're sitting, in that the parents, the school, the children, the government, we're all under major stress, major chaos. You know that railway line that I showed you in the beginning? That is everybody's reality every day. And so the more we have different communication, the more we have an ability of saying, how can we work this? What can we do? How can we do it differently? But it's important, and as what I spoke about in the beginning of this, it's okay not to know. Just think about that. So many people have that you should know. You are the teacher. You are the expert. But you have never been a teacher during COVID. You have never been a teacher in lockdown before. And so it's okay not to know. But we will work it out. And so and that's what's happening is that people go away. As soon as they're scared of something, they go away and they stop communication. And that, I think, is where schools are in the problem of saying, we don't know. We haven't a clue how to solve this. All right, but we're working on it. So it's almost like, please be patient, we have a problem. That's what we need to have. All right, so before we do that, let me stop here. Where is my little, all right, so let's hear from you. What solutions have you come up with? What has worked? What is good, not good? Let's see, let me start reading again. Sometimes it's difficult to learn from watching a TV learning channel for some kids because most kids learn best by asking questions. Okay. How has online teaching impacted respect for teachers? I'm just wondering if children are better or worse behaved online, says Jess. Guys, are you getting more respect, less respect? Let's hear on that one. I'm finding my senior kids are still very respectful. Oh, Joanne already answered. I'm behind. I found the younger kids are still struggling to find the respect when online. They revert back to friend speaker times, very inappropriate at times. Okay. Do we have to change what is appropriate or not appropriate, Joanne?Maybe. Is formality maintained in an online setting, says Jess. Okay, guys, what have you tried? What have you tried? What haven't you tried? What works? What doesn't work? Have you done? Do you know about a 0.8 prototype? Basically, with that, it means you don't get something to perfect, you get it to 80%. And then you allow it out the door. And then you see what works, what doesn't work. You bring it back again and you tweak it. And then you send it out the door again. So often we're trying for perfect as opposed to the 0.8 prototype. Guys, we're going to have a lesson today. Is it going to work? Isn't it going to work? Whoa, what worked? What didn't work? What should we change? All right, tomorrow we'll do it differently. All right. Is formality maintained in an online setting? I feel that students are actually appreciating their teachers more because of this. So that's good. My few girls I'm teaching are cooperative. Those that make the effort, yes. But isn't that in you're going to get people who adapt, you're going to get people who embrace the new way of doing it, and you're going to get others who go, no, I won't do it this way. I try to maintain some formality in the way we speak to each other when teaching and learning. I've allowed the kids to message me privately, and then we speak frankly and openly. Good for you, Joanne. Absolutely. Ryan says, yay. All right, what else have you tried? Who is teaching every day? Who is working at a school where you start at 7:30 or 8 and you sit in all your classes the whole day till 2 o'clock? Is anybody working like that? If anybody is working it, they're still typing. Chaffee says less respect from senior class than juniors. Juniors still engage with me and ask questions, but I feel at times that I'm talking to a brick wall with my seniors. How could you get around that, Taffy, and anybody else? How can you get around brick walls? Okay, yes, they are working every day and I'm available all day. So there's a difference between being available all day and actually being online all day. So I know when I was at school a very long time ago, we used to walk around. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Yes, we used to walk around to different teachers, and then you went to science, and then you went to biology, and then you went to whatever. Are you doing it that way as well? I have some lessons scheduled with my classes. Others are just group chats. where I send work and ask them when the majority are free to go through the work together, but they know I'm available all day. Yes. So the feedback that I've got, that works better when you say to somebody, you're not teaching it online, you're giving them the work, and then they're going to go and do it, and then they're coming back to say, oh, I couldn't do line X, I don't know what line Y is. It's difficult to be online all day, as some of the kids have no access, and we have discussed, I've checked up on my classes almost every hour or so. Yes. I heard from a lot of parents where some of the private schools are doing online the whole day, the literal teaching, and that I mean, the one child who's 10 or so, he has been given from 8 to 9, you do this, from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, oh, maybe you go to the loo somewhere, and it's like crazy, I think. Okay. We also need to be aware of various subjects having a heavier theoretical load, and so some kids need longer on those subjects as opposed to yours. Yes, I notice how we've spoken about some subjects as opposed to like what? Yes. All right, what is working? Have you had successes in these last few weeks? Have you had celebrations? Is it as horrible as it was on day one? Okay, I do like that as it creates structure for the kids. But again, that is the private schools where majority will have access. What also happens is that when the school sends out a timetable of 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, it's not taking into account what's happening in that child's home. It's not taking into account the space that that child is in. And it's also not taking into the juggle of there is no laptop, we have to sit here, now you will come have dinner, all those kind of things. Not taking into account any of that. It is something else. It's huge energy to have to be online. And if it's huge energy for us to be online and we're adults, can you imagine what it's like for children? Where now suddenly you don't move, you don't go and kick the ball, you don't jump up and down, you just sit and look at things on screen. Okay, so screen time is exhausting, except when they're playing games. How do you find that line so that you don't overburden them? Like, should we be texting them every hour or so, or should they stick to a structured timetable, taking into account there's more than one subject or balance? Yes, any answers for Ryan on that? It's almost about adapting it maybe for the children as to what they need. Have you ever worked like that, that you would say, okay, guys, go do that, and then you come back tomorrow and see what happens? So do we have to increase our trust of children? Do we have to increase our, okay, guys, you can do it differently. We're not going to do it the same way. Physics, maths, etc. seem to have more independent work going out, I found, as they need more practice in those subjects and not just rote learning, whereas other subjects can be done in broken down time frames. A day and an hour are different though. Yes. Categorically. Okay. Any other comments from anybody? Personally, I need more guidance on how to handle learners online. Absolutely. And for me, when I have worked with people online, I have learned by going online and learning by doing it. So the experiential learning. I learn by getting feedback. I've also gone on because, for instance, when you coach like this, or like, as the Gauteng chair for Commensa, which is the coaches and mentors professional body, I've then had 100 people online. All right. And so I've gone into the professional speaker space to see how they adapted from standing on a stage. What have they learned? So they've set up a whole big, you know, on Facebook, for instance, you can see where speakers share information, what you need to do. Gee whiz, you need a different speaker, different what microphone, different this, different that. But a big thing is, where's the energy? You don't get the immediate feedback. If I say to you, okay, guys, are you all okay? Are you whatevering? As opposed to, you know, you can have little separate chats. So for instance, do you know that you can chat to me separately? If you go down to the chat and you click the little arrow, you could send just Colleen a message. You don't have to send the whole group a message. So it does give your class an opportunity to just talk to you. Something else, you've got to be damn good at the multitasking of, yay, I'm talking to you guys, and I'm reading here, and I'm looking down there. For me, I didn't do, like Texila, for instance, is doing the background of letting the people in, somebody went out, bringing them back in again, keeping all that up to date. So I'm not doing this on my own because I've got the whole support structure. So not that coaches give advice, my suggestion is that you be kind to yourself, you involve your children in it, and you do the 0.8 prototype. You see what worked, what didn't work, whatever. What do they think? Okay. I missed the end of Ashley's message. Oh dear, where is the end of Ashley's message? Do you want to read it, Jess? Okay, yes, I found it. I feel that it is getting easier as we all teachers and learners are adapting and coping with the situation. Absolutely. The more you do it, the better you get at it, because we become experts. And you know what's going to happen? The world is going to fight when we go back to the classroom situation, when we have to get back in our cars and go back to work, as opposed to, I could crawl out of bed at 7:15 and start work at 8. All right, so let me just seeing the time over here. I just wanted to finish with, share my screen again. Okay, this is something that I saw online. It is not meant, okay, please don't ever put anything like this on a slide. This is for me to read it to you. It's not all here. I am going to read it to you. Okay, so when people say kids are going to be behind, I say behind what? Not each other. They're all in the same boat. Only behind the age expectations of a curriculum that currently has limited context due to these extraordinary circumstances. In front, on so many other more important fronts, I say, what if instead of behind, this group of kids is advanced because of this? What if they have more empathy? They enjoy family connection. They can be more creative and entertain themselves. They love to read. They love to express themselves in writing. What if they enjoy the simple things, like their own backyard and sitting near a window in the quiet? What if they notice the birds and the dates the different flowers emerge, and the calming renewal of a gentle rain shower? What if this generation is the one to learn to cook, organize their space, do their laundry, and keep a well-run home? What if
I
they
have
learn...
more than 8,000 students online. So I have a problem in, accommodating everyone. So what's the way forward? How can I help each and every student?
Okay, Mpundu, we'll get to your question now. Let me just finish this. What if they learn to stretch a dollar and to live with less? What if they learn to plan shopping trips and meals at home? What if they learn the value of eating together as a family and finding the good to share in the small delights of the everyday? What if they are the ones to plan great value on our teachers and educational professionals, librarians, public servants, and the previously invisible essential support workers like truck drivers, grocers, cashiers, custodians, logistics, and healthcare workers, and their supporting staff, just to name a few of the millions taking care of us right now while we are sheltered in place? What if among these children a great leader emerges who had the benefit of a slower pace and a simpler life, who has a fine sense of empathy and care and concern for fellow humans? What if he or she truly learns what really matters in all of this? So that is just a different way, and you didn't get it all there, and please don't ever put all of this on a slide and then read it to people, because youth will, yes, not appreciate that. But sometimes what happens is we are so busy looking, we're so busy focusing on the problem, that are we missing the easy solution? Are we seeing in our situation here, COVID, schools closed, can't reach my students, can't this, can't that? Are we just seeing the problem as opposed to all the solutions that are easily there? Okay, so let's stop that. All right, so Mpundu, you were saying that you have got many, many, many students. I can't see you in my group now. Don't know where he's gone. Are you still there? Okay. Oh, there you are. Mpundu, do you want to speak to us? Moses? Okay. So it is really, and then my message to you then is to make sure that look at what you can do. Focus on the different solutions. What are the solutions? And don't just get swallowed up and consumed by the problem. A big thing as well is like, could you actually do geometry by making cupcakes as opposed to a strange lesson? You know, when you ask cupcakes, you are doing geometry, you are doing maths, you are doing all different things. Okay. And so, just in closing, if you would like the whole email, it was attributed to a school principal. Of course, one of those things, you don't know who the school principal is, but you are welcome to contact me. There's my email address. You'll see that my name is got 2 L's and 2 E's, and my surname is QV and not QU, and so therefore I'm the only one of these Colleen Quists on social media. Very easy to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn, on Facebook and Twitter, and there is my email address. My company's name is CQ Consulting. I would like to thank Texila for giving me this opportunity, and also for giving you the opportunity to come into a room and share with each other. And so let's hear any closing comments from all of you. Anybody? Okay, we've had thank you so muches. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much.
you so much,
From
Ms.
Ryan and Ashley,
Pauline.
who's sitting next to each
Yeah.
other in my classroom. Yes.
I think there are only thank you messages. I don't see any messages for you. Any questions?
Okay,
from...
so they will come in slower. Okay, any messages from anyone? Thank you so much, Colleen. It has been a pleasure to know we're not alone and that all teachers are in the same storm, not in the same boat. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Full marks, you listened well. Okay. Have fun. You do not have to be the expert. You have never done this before. There is no ways you can be an expert in this. Go find people who are experts in online. Go find people who do know how to do this kind of stuff online. And the more you've actually go into it, have fun. Wow. You know what, guys? This is research. This is teaching your children firsthand how to adapt to change. Tammy has raised a hand. We listening?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
I just want to appreciate you for the great job that you're doing for us. I really never thought that this is doable, but it's just my first time attending your class, but I think like it's very, very doable. Thank you so much for that.
Pleasure. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So a big tip is that the more people you have online, the more you cannot do voice. You have to do typing. I don't know how that works with younger children. What also, I don't know if you guys are expert in Zoom, but do you know that you can also, when you share your screen, you can also share an iPhone pad, or it's not mine, okay. You can also share a whiteboard and draw. So there's all different ways. Okay. All right, and so know that you're loved, know that you make a difference, and that this is not impossible. We will look back on this and say, where were you when COVID took over the world? Make sure you keep your history notes up to date.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your informative as well as an interactive session with all the participants, Ms. Colin. It was really informative as well as it's supportive to all the teachers, because I'm able to see a lot of messages stating that they're thankful for this webinar session. So it's overall a very good and informative session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Texila, and I'm sure everyone appreciates you providing a platform for them to have this message. Okay.
You're welcome, Ms. Colin.
Bye.
Thank you so much, and have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.